All right. First things first, a very special thank you to my three sisters, Shannon, Hannah, and Megan. That is in chronological order, has nothing to do with who my favorite is, but Megan knows exactly who she is. I very much appreciate your kind words in deciding whether to dive into and record more thoughts and ideas and kind of put them out there. Your input was a massive factor in the decision to put in the work and the effort and make episode 1.5, as opposed to just kind of leaving it be, which would have been much easier. With that said, thanks everybody for joining us in this follow-up to last week's episode. Last week, we made it crystal clear that there is no excuse that we should ever accept when it comes to protecting ourselves and our families. So, as promised, today's one topic is excuses. Word of warning, this episode's content gets a little uncomfortable, but we'll make sure to wrap up on a high note, so please hang in there with us if you get uncomfortable. Question: what happens when the local news carries a story about wearing masks? The same news that our communities relied on for years to bring us local and national events, weather, emergencies, and keep us informed. What if that same story focused on a family or families which had children who were exceptionally vulnerable to the harm that the current pandemic threatens us with? WGAL here in central Pennsylvania ran a story on Hilary Bendon and her son Nolan, who found themselves in that very situation. Being born at 24 weeks of pregnancy left Nolan extremely invulnerable to infections and sickness, specifically to his lungs, which didn't have the time to develop properly during a shortened pregnancy. The story, I thought, was very timely because we're in the middle of a viral pandemic, specifically a pandemic whose viral constituent attacks the lungs. The majority of the reaction to the story, sadly, was not supportive of Nolan and their family. For instance, Sherilyn Wolf says, "Yep, you can stay home while I live my life." Danny Charney tells us, "That's a new low, even for WGAL." Michael Leschke, "Yep, using kids to push your agenda. Not gonna work. If you're scared, stay home. You're not forcing me to protect you in case of something. It's not my job to protect anyone." So noted. Tony Fio, "Leave the kid at home. I'm not wearing a mask." So, just in case you felt that the past 15 seconds were a little uncomfortable, hang on, it's going to get worse. Todd Jones gives us, "Shut up, the kid'll be fine." How sweet. Stephen Dotson, and this is rough. "This mom needs to shut her pie hole. Masks don't matter. I haven't, I don't, I won't, buzz off." Craig Wickline gives us some statistics. 97% recovery rate. Don't be so dramatic. This number and these numbers pop up so much, statistics, that we're actually going to give them their own episode. But for the record, 3% death rate is alarmingly horrifying. And finally, we're going to focus on James West Jr.'s comment. "I don't have to wear a mask for your safety. There's a thing called the Constitution. Read it. God bless. And by the way, if masks work, why do you care if I don't wear one?" Thank you, James. I actually have read the Constitution, and I highly recommend it for anybody, especially if you're planning to leverage it online. I recommend it even more so if you're planning to attempt to weaponize the Constitution against citizens seeking protection in their daily lives. To that end, James, we have to assume that you're referring to the Bill of Rights and additional amendments to the Constitution of the United States of America. The original text of the Constitution was very sparse on protections of individual rights, as those rights were actually viewed at the time as the purview of the citizen state constitutions, usually When people wave the Constitution in someone's face, it has to do with the amendments to the original document, the first 10 of which are known as the Bill of Rights. For instance, the First Amendment, that's our freedom of speech, religion, and press. These are all well documented, lots of case law out there. The Second Amendment, the ever popular right to bear arms for the purpose of, and nobody gives a shit about the rest of it. The Third Amendment, troops can be quartered in your home, or cannot be quartered in your home. I apologize, and this doesn't refer to the horses pulling off their legs and arms. This means they can't live with you. The exceptions are during times of war, of course, and it has to be done in a respectful manner. The Fourth Amendment, now we start to get into the legal aspect of our protections as citizens from the government. This is our protection from unlawful search and seizure. 5 has to do with indictment, our right to a grand jury, double jeopardy, being tried for the same crime more than once. Pleading the Fifth, your protection that you don't have to incriminate yourself under oath. Very important. The Sixth Amendment, a lot of criminal rights there, your speedy trial, public trials, trial by jury. The Seventh Amendment builds on that a little bit and pushes trial by jury as a right also in civil cases. 8 has to do with excessive fines, excessive bail, and cruel and unusual punishment. Historically, the government was punishing people by putting them in jail for petty things and massing these huge fines on them and putting them away forever for simply speaking. The Eighth Amendment does a great job at protecting us from that type of tyranny. Now, 9. The Ninth Amendment is where our founding fathers and mothers predicted that one might be inclined to beat a fellow citizen over the head with arguments that are neatly picked out of context or conveniently exclude and, dare I say, infringe upon other citizens' rights. The Ninth Amendment states that enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. That means, James, you can scream the word Constitution all you want. You can even pick out your favorite part and quote it, or the whole thing, which you didn't do. But what you and anybody else in this country cannot do is use any or all of the rights granted to us citizens to deny anybody else his or her rights. Somehow, the freedoms that we are allowed under our letters and laws is getting interpreted as I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and wherever I want in America. Simply isn't true. And it's never been true. I'm very proud of the cities, states, stores, the people and the platforms that are standing up for the protection of our citizens by requiring protective measures. I'll continue to support the people, businesses, and platforms that promote protection of our citizens. Hilary Bendon has the right to go to the store to gather food, medicine, and sustenance for her family. She has the right and the ability to do so with safety, thanks to responsible businesses and thoughtful citizens. If you're in a place where the signage and the rules clearly state that protection must be worn, you have to wear it, and wear it right. Or you gotta go. And after you get kicked to the curb, James, feel free to practice your First Amendment rights once you're off of private property. Adding to that, God bless. There's a nice punctuation after the Constitution bit. The problem that I have here is that every God that I have ever read about, prayed to, listened for, or sought counsel on has been loving, kind, and caring. Specifically, I've found that the weak, the poor, and the unprotected, and the children are a focus of kindness in religious teachings. To bring God as a weapon, where a mother's pleading for a community to help her protect a vulnerable child from a global pandemic, one that's spreading death and disease in our country at an alarming rate, is quite the opposite of what any God that I know of would condone. I'm just simply not sure what God you possibly could have been referring to in this comment. Hilary, Nolan, I've read through the comments that appear along with the story, and I just believe that you deserve better. It takes courage to wake up every morning and care for children and family without running away and going insane sometimes. It's really tough. It takes more courage when our families are sick or in danger. And then it takes an extraordinary human effort to get out in front of a camera and tell that story. And anybody who's never lived through it or tried it has no idea what kind of feeling it is when you decide to put yourself out there for the world, especially when you have to ask for help. It takes nothing close to courage or strength to post a snarky comment, insult, slur, or threat in the comment section. It takes nothing to bang out 280 hateful characters, including hashtags. I support Hilary Bendon and Nolan and their entire family in their call for help for their family's safety. Please find the link in the description of this video to Hilary and Nolan's story, and if it's not too much to ask, please leave a new, supportive, caring, or loving comment. I think it's fair that we let them know that although 99% of the top-level comments right now on this story are just downright hostile and mean, those comments don't represent the enormous number of caring people out there who are willing to help. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.